Picture this. You're at home, maybe watching TV, scrolling through your phone, and you reach for that familiar bag, the crinkle of the packaging, that first satisfying crunch, and before you know it, the entire bag is gone. Sound familiar? Potato chips. The snack that's literally engineered to be impossible to resist. But have you ever wondered how those perfectly thin, golden, crispy slices actually get from a muddy field to your fingertips? In this video, we're taking you inside one of the world's most advanced chip factories to reveal the jaw-dropping journey of potato chips. Trust me, what you're about to see will change the way you look at your favorite snack forever. Here's something that might blow your mind. The global potato chip industry produces over 11 million tons of chips every single year. That's enough to circle the Earth more than twice if you laid them end to end. And one factory alone, the one we're visiting today, churns out a staggering 4 tons of potato chips every hour. But here's the thing. Behind every single chip is an intricate ballet of precision engineering, quality control, and split-second timing. One tiny mistake in temperature, one miscalculation in oil, blend one chip that's a fraction too thick, and the entire batch could be ruined. We're talking about millions of dollars at stake and millions of disappointed snack lovers. The factories that make these chips don't just cook potatoes. They've mastered a science so precise that even the thickness of a chip is measured down to 0.06 inches. Because in the world of potato chips, perfection isn't optional. It's the only way to survive. So how do they do it? How do these factories transform over 750 tons of raw, sturdy potatoes every single day into the addictive snacks we can't stop eating? Let's find out. Our story doesn't start in a factory. It starts here in vast potato fields, stretching as far as the eye can see. This is where harvest season kicks into high gear, and this is where the magic truly begins. Now, potatoes don't exactly grow on trees. They're buried underground, sometimes up to 10 inches deep. So how do farmers get them out without damaging them? Enter the specialized harvesting machine, a beast of agricultural engineering that can do in minutes what would take dozens of workers hours to accomplish. Watch closely. This powerful rig digs deep into the soil, reaching down to carefully lift entire potato plants, roots, dirt, rocks, and all. But here's where it gets really clever. Everything that comes up gets loaded onto a vibrating conveyor screen that shakes violently, separating the potatoes from the excess soil while sorting through up to 40,000 potatoes per minute. 40,000. That's more than 650 potatoes every single second. From there, the potatoes are transferred directly into trucks driving right alongside the harvester. This synchronized dance keeps the operation smooth, steady, and interruption-free. No stops, no delays, just pure efficiency. Once the trucks are full, they make a beeline for a nearby storage hub, a massive facility purpose-built to handle hundreds of tons of fresh potatoes every single day. And this is where quality control gets serious. The moment those potatoes arrive, they're funneled into what's called an optical sorter. Now, this isn't your average sorting machine. We're talking about massive high-tech systems running at full throttle with one critical mission: finding the perfect spuds. Fresh, firm potatoes ride along a conveyor belt passing through a sophisticated scanning system. High-precision sensors inspect each potato in detail, analyzing its size, shape, and color with incredible accuracy. We're talking about technology that can spot a bruise smaller than a dime, or detect a faint discoloration invisible to the human eye. Meanwhile, nimble pneumatic robotic arms spring into action. These mechanical marvels move so fast you can barely follow them with your naked eye, swiftly removing clumps of dirt that snuck through with the potatoes. And here's the ruthless part. Any potato that doesn't make the cut, those that are bruised, diseased, or just too small, are instantly ejected from the line. No second chances, no mercy. Only the absolute top-tier spuds move forward. But the journey is far from over, because these potatoes, they're about to take a very cold vacation. Freshly pulled from the earth and still dusted with soil, the selected potatoes are gently placed onto a conveyor belt and moved into massive wooden crates, From there, they continue their journey into a cold storage facility so large it can hold a staggering 40 million potatoes at once. Let that sink in. 40 million potatoes. Here the spuds rest in climate-controlled perfection, anywhere from a few weeks to several months depending on production schedules and market demand. The temperature is kept just right. Not too cold to damage them, but cold enough to slow down, sprouting and preserve their starch content. And when the factory calls for a new batch, forklifts spring into action, hauling the crates out of storage and onto a conveyor leading straight to the washing station. Because before these potatoes can become chips, they need to get squeaky clean. When a truckload of potatoes finally arrives at the factory gate, things get dramatic real fast. The entire vehicle is lifted onto a massive hydraulic platform, then slowly tilted forward at about a 30-degree angle. And then, like a tidal wave of tubers, thousands of potatoes come cascading down onto the conveyor belt below. It's oddly satisfying to watch. Thousands of potatoes rolling, tumbling, bouncing their way into the factory that will transform them completely. From there, the potatoes are routed to the incoming quality control area, where random samples are pulled for starch content testing. Why does starch matter so much? Because starch levels directly affect how the chips will fry. Too much starch and they burn. Too little and they won't crisp up properly. It's a delicate balance. Now, even though these spuds were already washed once back at the farm, the entire load is sent through an industrial washing system all over again. And this isn't just about cleanliness. It's about protecting the factory's precision equipment. Just one tiny speck of leftover dirt could scratch a blade or mess with the peeling machines and other delicate systems downstream. This high-powered rinse uses a combination of intense water jets, industrial brushing, and even a swirling water vortex to make sure each potato comes out absolutely spotless. And this system is no slouch. It can wash up to 6 million potatoes a day. 6 million. Next up, the potatoes enter one of 6 large-scale peelers. Now these aren't your kitchen vegetable peelers. These are industrial beasts, each one lined with a rough abrasive material on the inside. As the machine spins, the potatoes tumble and roll, rubbing against the gritty surface which gently scrapes off the skin. At the same time, high-pressure water jets spray the spinning spuds, washing away the loosened peels. It's surprisingly gentle for such an industrial process, ensuring minimal waste while removing every trace of skin. Once peeled, the potatoes pass through an advanced camera system that scans each one in real time. In just a split second, these cameras can detect signs of rot visual defects or any irregularities, and if something's off, a mechanical finger shoots a targeted puff of air to eject the faulty potato from the stream. The good ones, they move on along a specialized conveyor system where an automated sorter separates the crop by size. Only standard-sized potatoes fall through the slots for further processing, while oversized ones are diverted to a cutting station where they're halved before continuing down the line. But even with all this automation, there's still a human touch. Workers are stationed along the conveyor for one last round of inspection, keeping a sharp eye out for damaged, bruised, or partially peeled potatoes that may have escaped the machines. If they spot any spuds that are still too large, they'll slice them in half right there on the spot. Now we arrive at one of the most critical moments in the entire process, the slicing. The potatoes are loaded onto a conveyor and dropped into a rotating drum slicer. And this is where engineering meets art. Inside this machine, powerful centrifugal force flings each potato outward, pressing it against razor-sharp blades waiting at the perimeter. In a flash, in literally fractions of a second, each spud is precisely sliced into 35 uniform chips. And get this, each one is exactly 0.06 inches thick. Not 0.07, not 0.05, exactly 0.06 inches. Why does this matter so much? Because even the slightest variation can ruin everything. Too thick and the chip turns out flat heavy and doesn't crunch right. Too thin and it curls or folds unevenly, or worse, burns in the fryer. The goal is that perfectly even saddle-shaped curve, that signature look we all recognize instantly. Quality control technicians are right there, continuously checking the thickness of the chips as they come off the slicer. They're not taking any chances, because in a factory producing 4 tons of chips per hour, even a tiny error gets multiplied thousands of times over. And here's something cool. Depending on the product line, the slicing blades get switched out. Regular chips use straight blades for that smooth traditional cut, but wavy or ruffled chips, those use serrated blades to create those bold rippled edges that not only look great, but also add an extra dimension of crunch. Once sliced, the chips drop into a fast-moving stream of water that carries them straight to the washing station. And you might be thinking, wait, didn't we already wash these potatoes like 3 times? Yes, but this wash is different. This is about removing surface starch. Here's why that matters. When potatoes are sliced, they release starch onto the surface of each chip. If that starch is left behind, the chips will stick together during frying, creating one giant unusable clump. Nobody wants that. So the chips tumble through a spinning drum and go through multiple rinse cycles. First a soak, then a high-pressure spray from above, followed by a second water bath, and another round of jets. It's thorough, it's methodical, and it's absolutely essential. After the final rinse, the potato slices are dried and ready for the moment that will transform them from raw vegetables into the addictive snack we know and love. Welcome to the heart of the operation, the fryer. This isn't just any fryer. We're talking about a massive continuous fryer over 40 feet long, filled with a bubbling blend of sunflower, canola, and vegetable oils. The temperature hovers around 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and the chips will spend roughly 3 minutes fully submerged in this golden bath. But here's what's fascinating. Both time and temperature are constantly adjusted, fine-tuned based on each batch's starch and moisture levels. And how do they measure those levels? With a surprisingly simple but effective test, how the slices float in the oil. Watch what happens as the chips fry. Steam escapes from inside the slices as water evaporates, and that evaporated water gets replaced by oil. That's why oil needs to be constantly replenished during the process. But here's the secret, they don't just pour in any oil randomly. The factory uses a specific formula, a consistent 50-50 blend of fresh oil and used oil. If the oil is all new, the chips soak up too much of it and end up overly greasy. Nobody wants potato chips dripping with oil. But if it's all used oil, the chips turn too dark and lose that fresh, clean flavor. It's all about balance, science, precision. As the chips ride through the fryer, they gradually transform. They bubble, they sizzle, they turn from pale cream to that perfect golden color we all recognize. And when they reach that exact moment, that sweet spot of crispy, aromatic perfection, they're lifted out of the oil. But here's something you might not have noticed. Look closely at the entire production line. See how everything is gently vibrating. That's completely intentional. Because these chips are ultra thin and incredibly fragile, the entire system from conveyors to chutes to transfer points is designed to shake gently, just enough to move the chips forward without cracking them. If they used regular rotating belts like they do with raw potatoes, all you'd get in the bag would be a pile of crumbs. And nobody's paying premium prices for a bag of potato dust. Right after the fryer, the chips pass through a state-of-the-art optical sorter that scans over 400 slices per second. Let that sink in. 400 chips, every single second. This machine acts like a hypersensitive pair of eyes, constantly on the lookout for brown spots, burnt edges, or any surface defects. It's using camera sensors and artificial intelligence to make split-second decisions about which chips are worthy and which ones need to go. If a chip doesn't meet the standard, the machine responds, instantly firing a pinpoint jet of air, accurate down to the millimeter, to blow that slice right out of the product stream and into a separate reject tray. Thanks to this lightning-fast inspection step, when you open a bag of chips, you're almost guaranteed to find perfectly golden, crispy, intact chips, at least while they're still inside the factory. What happens during shipping? Well, that's another story we'll get to in a minute. Right after leaving the fryer and passing inspection, the golden crispy chips get a light dusting of salt to enhance their basic flavor. But the real magic, the signature taste that makes each variety unique, that happens in the next step. Seasoning, natural spice blends, chili, black pepper, paprika, cheese powder, herbs, whatever the flavor calls for, are funneled through a dispensing tube inside a giant rotating drum. As the drum spins, the seasonings are evenly distributed, coating both sides of each chip in a thin, flavorful layer. Just a few spins in this specialized mixing barrel are enough to ensure every chip is perfectly seasoned from edge to edge. And since the chips are still hot at this stage, the seasoning sticks like a charm. No clumping, no uneven coating, just perfect, consistent flavor. At this point, random batches are pulled for quality checks before packaging. Inspectors don't just look at the chips, they taste them. They test the crunch, they evaluate the flavor intensity, they check the color and the seasoning coverage. Every single detail is scrutinized to make sure every bite lives up to the brand standards. Because here's the thing, a factory producing millions of bags can't afford to have inconsistent quality. One bad batch could damage a reputation built over decades. Now you might be wondering, with all this precision, with all these quality checks, how fast can they actually package these chips? The answer might surprise you. We're talking about thousands of bags per hour, and the technology they use to do it is absolutely mind-blowing. After seasoning, the chips are carried upward by a bucket conveyor to the upper level where a high-speed weighing system with 120 heads gets to work. 120 heads, each one holding a different portion of chips. And here's where the computer brain kicks in. The system calculates the optimal combination of chips from different trays to hit the exact target weight for each bag. Whether it's a 1-ounce snack size or a 13-ounce party pack, every portion is measured down to the chip, not down to the gram, down to the individual chip. This level of precision ensures you're getting exactly what you paid for every single time. Finally, we arrive at the packaging machines on the ground floor. And this is where everything comes together. The chips are sent down carefully. Remember, they're still incredibly fragile into waiting bags. But before the bags are sealed, something interesting happens. The machine flushes each bag with nitrogen gas, replacing the oxygen inside. Why nitrogen? 2 reasons. First, oxygen causes the chips to go stale faster. By replacing it with nitrogen, the chips stay fresh longer, maintaining that satisfying crunch for weeks or even months. Second, that nitrogen creates the signature air pocket in every chip bag. You know the one that makes you think, why is this bag half empty? But here's the truth, that air isn't there to rip you off. It's not a scam. That cushion of nitrogen protects the delicate chips during shipping. Without it, the chips would be crushed into crumbs by the time they reach the store shelf. So that empty space, it's actually saving your snack. Once filled and flushed, the bag is heat sealed shut, a perfect barrier against moisture, air, and anything else that could compromise the chips inside. The finished bags are then neatly packed into cardboard boxes, each box containing a precise number of bags depending on size and destination. From there, they move to the palletizing area. In the palletizing area, the boxes are stacked onto large pallets in perfectly organized towers. Each pallet is then tightly wrapped in durable plastic film to keep everything secure and stable during transport. And then comes the final step. The fully loaded pallets are lifted onto trucks with a destination in mind. Maybe a local grocery store, maybe a warehouse that will distribute them across the country, maybe even an international shipment to chip lovers on the other side of the world. These trucks will travel hundreds, sometimes thousands of miles, carrying the fruits of an incredibly complex, precisely orchestrated manufacturing process, a process that transforms humble potatoes into one of the world's most beloved snacks. And that's the incredible journey of how potato chips are made in factories, from muddy fields to automated harvesters, from cold storage to industrial washers, from precision slicers to 350-degree fryers, from optical sorters to seasoning drums, and finally from packaging lines to your local store shelf. Every single chip you eat has been through this gauntlet of technology, quality control, and precision engineering. It's traveled thousands of feet along conveyor belts, been inspected by cameras, sensors, and human eyes, and survived a journey that would crush lesser snacks. The next time you reach for that familiar bag, the next time you hear that satisfying crinkle and taste, that first crispy, salty bite, you'll know exactly what went into making it. You'll know about the 40,000 potatoes sorted per minute, the 6 million potatoes washed daily, the 0.06-inch slicing precision, the 50-50 oil blend, the 400 chips scanned per second. But here's the real question. Now that you know all of this, now that you've seen behind the curtain, can you still eat just one chip? Something tells me the answer is still no. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of potato chip manufacturing, hit that like button and subscribe so you won't miss any of our upcoming factory tours. We've got some incredible videos coming up from chocolate production to ice cream manufacturing, and you won't want to miss them. And if you've got a fellow chip lover in your life, someone who's ever wondered how their favorite snack is made, go ahead and share this video with them. Trust me, they'll thank you. Thanks for watching, and remember, the next time someone tells you those chips are just potatoes, you can tell them the real story, the incredible, complex, fascinating story of how potato chips are really made. See you in the next video.